With us, let's bring you the news update at this time, and we begin in Abuja, where the ruling All Progressives Congress is asking the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to accept defeat from the February the 25th presidential election. This latest call is contained in a statement by APC's National Publicity Secretary Felix Morka, who described Mr. Atiku's speech during his press conference as, quote, a long, windy, incoherent, and preposterous, unbefitting of a former vice president, end quote. The statement adds that it is delusional for Mr. Atiku to have expected the courts to rely on their bogus, flimsy, unverifiable, uncorroborated, illogical, and hearsay evidence to overturn an election that was conducted in substantial compliance with the Constitution and electoral laws. The party asks him to stop denying and disrespecting the collective will of Nigerians, disparage the judiciary, and incite rage. And to other stories, the Senate Committee on Gas says it will invite officials of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation Limited over funding for the exploration and development of new frontier acres across. Chairman of the committee, Senator Jarigbe Agom, spoke during an interactive session with the Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Benga Komolafe, at the National Assembly. A National Assembly correspondent Jesu Adewiye has details.
The Petroleum Industry Act, as amended, introduced the Frontier Exploration Fund to support exploration and development in Nigeria's frontier acreages. The Act also stipulates that the fund, constituting 30% of NNPC's profit in oil and gas from various contracts, will finance exploration and development activities in these frontier acreages. Some of these acreages are situated in places like Anambra, Benue, Bida, Dahomey, Sokoto, Chad, and other areas where hydrocarbon exploration is yet to take place and still remains underdeveloped.
In line with Section 9, 4, and 5, there is a Frontier Acreages Fund from 30% profit gas and profit oil, and a Frontier Acreages Escrow account opened by your commission.
We recognize that whatever affects oil production, that is in terms of, shorting we experience arising from the incidences of vandalism also becomes a constraint to ramping up our gas production. But we are optimistic that with the combined effort that is being made at interagencies collaboration, both in private the general security services.
After a closed session, the committee resolved to interface with the NNPC to find out why funds were yet to be set aside for the development of frontier acreages, which is subject to the approval of the National Assembly.
This committee will want to know if that escrow account has been opened, what has accrued to that account, and to what extent you have achieved exploration and development of frontier acreages from the account.
As Nigeria continues to make gains in gas production, the committee emphasizes the importance of having all hands on deck to enable increased production of gas for effective revenue generation. Jesu Adewiye, APC News, Abuja.
Clinical Director at St. Nicholas Hospital, Lagos, Dr. Ebun Bangboye, says that the hospital will always be ethical in everything they do, including organ transplant. Senior correspondent Ivy Kanu has details.
I wouldn't like to speak specifically about this case.
Though our intention was to get specific answers to allegations raised by Eric Chimobi Nwoko, the young man who claims his organ was harvested in his earlier interview with our crew, the nephrologist and head dialysis and transplant unit, after much persuasion, reacted to the allegation. He explained he will only comment generally on what is expected of a donor, recipient, hospital before transplantation.
Whoever it is that's a donor to a potential recipient must first of all be doing it altruistically. Shouldn't be doing it with the intention to sell that part. And one of the ways of ascertaining that is that the person should be either emotionally or genetically related to the potential recipient. Donors, as I always explain to them at the stage when we're counseling them, because we actually counsel them extensively prior to surgery. And the act of transplantation is only allowed ethically because at the end of the day, you do not expect that you are turning the donor into a patient. All surgeries that are done require the individual who's going through surgery to sign a consent. And we wouldn't touch anybody who doesn't sign an appropriate consent.
According to him, he allows donors access to him all day.
Even when they are relatives, they're not really sure whether there's coercion. Because it might be brother, but they might be putting pressure on that brother. So I say you can go, but come back yourself anytime you want to.
But we didn't give up.
The hospital's reaction is this. We are ethical about every practice that we carry out in this hospital, particularly as regards transplantation. You said he was strict. We would not go about and trick anybody. So it has to be somebody that gives informed consent.
We will continue to keep a tab on the story and update as it unfolds. Ivy Kano, CVC News, Lagos.